call the January 13th, 2009 meeting of the City Council to order. Can we have the roll call, please?
The record will reflect that all members of council are present.
Okay. Do we have a closed session report from the City Attorney?
We do, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. Just initially, I would like to note that in your open session agenda, on your standard agenda for the public, we have listed all closed session matters along with the appropriate government code section identifying the reason for closed session, so I don't need to go into identifying of each one of those matters, but what I do give you is a reporting out as necessary. There was no reportable action taken on any of the matters with the exception of King versus City of Newport Beach. City Council, on a unanimous vote, voted to authorize the Office of the City Attorney to proceed to defend that matter. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thank you. Would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Council Member Henn, followed by the invocation by Pastor Bradley Stienstra.
Please repeat with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. To those of you who were expecting Rick Warren to deliver the invocation, I can only say you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. But since I'm here, let us pray. Almighty One, if we are right to think of you as sovereign, we perhaps ought to think twice before calling upon you to be here. The quiet and gentle way you sometimes choose to enter the world can lull us into the false understanding that inviting your presence is a mere formality, just the ceremonial prelude to the receipt of your heavenly stamp of approval upon whatever we humans decide to do with the items of business we determine are worthy of inclusion on our busy agendas. But let us be reminded now that if you come of your own volition, rather than at our bidding. And you come with the force of a powerful wind, intent not just on rearranging our hair, but the shape of our entire community. Your desire is to scour away the injustices that can clog our streets worse than traffic, and thus make your world right once again, exactly as you envisioned it at its creation. So grant us now the courage to stick around while you inject yourself into the civil process and make your will known on the matters before this council, that the city of Newport Beach might be both blessed and a blessing. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Before we get into the presentations this evening, we have a couple of introductions that I'd like to make. First of all, we have a new city attorney, Mr. David Hunt. After an extensive search, Mr. Hunt has agreed to come into the employ of the City of Newport Beach. He comes from the law firm of Shepard, Mullen, and Richter with an extensive background in municipal law and other areas of legal expertise that will serve our city well. And David, do you have any words you'd like to say?
Well, I would like to thank the council and the public for the opportunity to serve the City of Newport Beach. I've enjoyed my first 3 weeks vigorously working away, and I appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And also, we have a new Human Resources Director, and Mr. Bludell, I'll allow you to make that introduction.
She came to work on Monday, Terry Cassidy, and I'm looking to see if she is in the back room to where she might be able to step forward and give an introduction of herself. She's already done so to the City Council, but to the public. Terry comes from the city of Costa Mesa, has vast experience with being a HR director, and I don't know if she is within reach of hearing my words right now. We'll try and get her up here later.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we'll move on to our presentations. The first one this evening is a presentation of a check from the Newport Beach Public Library Foundation, something we always like to see.
We're pretending our check is here in person tonight, but it is definitely here in spirit and good deeds. I'm Susan Warren, Library Services Manager. Good evening to you, Mayor Selich and City Council members. I'm here to accept a gift from the Argyros Foundation. It's originally a check for $20,000, and tonight's check is for $6,731. This grant has allowed the library to enter into a very unusual partnership this year with South Coast Repertory. We've been providing 2 workshops or live performances a month starting in September and continuing through June this year. In this way, we're able to provide arts enrichment to the children and families of Newport Beach at no cost. Our next Saturday performance is January 24th, and it'll actually be a live performance of a touring production from South Coast Rep called Indian Summer. And we occasionally provide refreshments and even real books of some of the productions. And we're very grateful to the foundation and the Argyros gift to provide these unusual opportunities for our community. And for anyone in the public or on TV who wishes to find out more, they can check the library website, of course, newportbeachlibrary.org, or stop by our buildings and pick up a wonderful brochure. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, our next presentation is a annual report of the Orange County Human Relations Commission.
Sorry, I don't have a check, but I do have a certificate for you. So, council members and Mayor Selich, I'm here tonight to briefly share with you what the Orange County Human Relations Council has done in the Newport Beach area over the last year. And I have presented you with copies of our annual report, which has, I think, been distributed by the city clerk. Many of our services are county-wide and therefore not easily broken down by city, such as police training at the Sheriff's Academy, the Hate Crime Network trainings, the Human Relations Awards, forums, and educational programs that are open to the public. But I would like to share the following data that are about specific services over the last year in Newport Beach. In collaboration with the Newport Beach Police, we documented 10 hate crimes or incidents in Newport Beach in 2007. Fortunately, that's a very low number. We mediated 76 cases in the community or courts where one of the parties was a resident of Newport Beach in fiscal year 07 to 08. We served Newport Beach youth attending the following schools with school interethnic relations and violence prevention programs. Those are Corona Del Mar and Newport Harbor High Schools. And 2 Newport Beach youth participated in our Bridges Summer Leadership Camp, and 2 Newport Beach teenagers participated in the year-long Human Relations Associates internship program. Students and teachers from Corona Del Mar and Newport Harbor High Schools attended our Walk in My Shoes symposium to learn how to create safe, inclusive school communities. We built community with Newport Beach residents and staff through the Hate Crime Network, the Victim Assistance Partnership, and one hate crime presentation. So I would like to close by underscoring the importance of investing in a strong human relations infrastructure. Just like storm drains must be built before the storm begins if they are to protect us, a human relations infrastructure, which is comprised of our model programs, institutions, and relationships, must be invested in over time. This is especially true in Orange County, where we are undergoing a dramatic demographic change, and we want all of our cities in Orange County to remain safe and respectful communities for all people. So, Mayor Selich, I would like to present you with this certificate. And this is from the Orange County Human Relations. It's a certificate of recognition to the City of Newport Beach for promoting a safe, inclusive community in collaboration with the OC Human Relations Council in the fiscal year 2007-08.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. I'm Ellen Olshansky. I'm a member of the Orange County Human Relations Council. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Our next presentation is an announcement for Restaurant Week.
Good evening, Mayor Selich, and Happy New Year. Thank you for the opportunity this evening to invite members of the council, city staff, and of course, members of the community to participate in the 3rd annual Newport Beach Restaurant Week, which kicks off this Sunday, January 18th, and runs through Thursday, January 22nd. Participating restaurants throughout the various neighborhoods in Newport Beach will be serving up special gourmet 3-course fixed-priced bargain menus at only $15 or $20 for lunch or $20 or $35 for dinner. And it's an excellent way for the community and locals to get out and try one of their old favorite restaurants or maybe a new establishment in town and sample the outstanding culinary talent and hospitality that the restaurant industry in Newport Beach provides. So we're very excited. We're looking forward to the opportunity to showcase Restaurant Week. And as many of you know, there's also a gala launch party, which is going to take place this Thursday. Members of the community are invited to attend that as well. Walk-ins are welcome. It's taking place at the Back Bay Bistro, hosted by the Newport Dunes Waterfront Resort. Tickets are $50 per person and can be available at our website, which is newportbeachdining.com, or by calling 949-675-0501. Proceeds for the gala launch party for Restaurant Week benefit the 1st Battalion, 1st Marines of Camp Pendleton and their families. And if anyone's interested in viewing the online menus or making online reservations for Restaurant Week, they can visit newportbeachdining.com.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor Selich. My name is Sherry Drury. I am the president of the Newport Beach Restaurant Association, and I'm from Wilma's Patio. And on behalf of the Newport Beach Restaurant Association Board of Directors, and as a member of the city's Economic Development Committee, I would like to thank the City Council for its ongoing support of the Newport Beach Restaurant Association and Restaurant Week. Restaurant Week boosts sales while offering bargain menus to the community, which is especially nice during the challenging economic times we're all facing right now. And the Newport Beach restaurant industry looks forward to coming together to celebrate culinary talent and to generate millions of dollars, we hope, in incremental revenue through the 3rd annual Newport Beach Restaurant Week. So I hope you're all getting hungry, and I hope we see you out there dining. Thank you.
Thank you.
Homer, the Human Relations Director's here.
Pardon me?
Okay.
Oh.
Mr. Mayor, if you're willing. Terry, will you step forward? I introduced you when you weren't here, so this is your time to introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. City Council members and Mr. Bludow and staff, I'm very pleased to have joined your staff yesterday. I come from the city of Costa Mesa, your neighbor, and so I'm very familiar with the wonderful city of Newport Beach. I have in excess of 25 years of experience in personnel, labor relations, employment law, and risk management, so I hope I bring tools to the toolbox for the city of Newport Beach, and I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you. Happy to meet with you individually about anything that I'm able to help you with, and I look forward to a long career with the city of Newport Beach.
Thanks, Terry. Welcome to our staff.
Thank you so much.
Madam Clerk.
Notice to the public. The city provides a yellow sign-in card to assist in the preparation of the minutes. The completion of the card is not required in order to address the council. Speakers must limit comments to 5 minutes on agenda items. The council has a discretion to extend or shorten the time limit on agenda or non-agenda items. As a courtesy, please turn cell phones and pagers off or set them in the silent mode. Now is the time for city council announcements or matters which council members would like placed on a future agenda for discussion, action, or report.
Councilwoman Daigle.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to report on the progress of the renovation of the Marion Bergerson Aquatics Complex. It's owned by the school district and operates under a joint use agreement with the city. And it's served the city and the community in Corona Del Mar High School since it opened in 1990. And the renovation project is a terrific example of the city and the community and the school district all working together to accomplish this project. About 2.5 years ago, Senator Bergerson came to me and introduced me to a group of parents whose children were very involved with aquatics. And they had organized a foundation, a nonprofit, and their idea was to coordinate the project with the school district, organize and conduct the community fundraising campaign, and manage the project. They asked me what the city could do to help. And so I came to the council with a request for a $290,000 challenge pledge, and the council saw the value of the project and agreed to that. The parents then went out and raised $1 million, so it was just an amazing effort. And I wanted to let you know where the project is currently at. Phases 1, which is the replastering and the repair of the pool, the drainage and the deck, has been complete. Phase 2, which is shade structures and lighting, is substantially complete and looks amazing. For visiting teams, CDM used to be known as the pool with no shade. That's no longer the case. And then plans for phases 3, which is reconfiguring the office area and installing a new scoreboard. And phase 4, building locker rooms, are underway. And I can attribute a lot of the success of the project to just the singular focus of the steering committee, as well as the generosity of the community. And so the parents wanted to express their appreciation to the council for the funding, and a special thank you to Senator Bergerson for her leadership. Thank you.
Okay, Councilwoman Gardner.
Yeah, over the holidays, I was at 2 different events. People didn't know that I was a city council person. And I heard 2 different women, older women, commenting on solicitors who came to their door around 7:30 or 8 at night and how alarming that was. And I'm wondering if we control our fate in that area, and if so, I'd like to have a discussion on shortening those hours. I don't know that 8 o'clock is necessarily a great time to have someone knocking on your door.
Okay. Councilman Webb?
I have none.
Councilman Henn?
None.
Councilman Rosansky?
None, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Curry?
Just a couple of things. On the 2nd of January, I had the opportunity to participate along with Councilmember Gardner and Councilmember Webb in the farewell presentation at Oasis, as we prepare to demolish that building in anticipation of the new Oasis Center. About 350 people, a capacity crowd, gathered to bid the old facility goodbye, and I think to look forward in anticipation to the new facility that we're going to provide for the community. And also want to congratulate the Chamber of Commerce for the 100th boat parade, and certainly one that was every bit as good as all of the previous 99 that have preceded it in terms of its pageantry and how it presented to our city.
Thank you. And I have no announcements this evening. Madam Clerk?
Consent calendar. All matters listed under consent calendar are considered by the council to be routine and will all be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. The city council members have received detailed staff reports on each of the items recommending an action. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the council votes on the motion unless members of the council, staff, or the public request specific items to be discussed and/or removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Members of the public who wish to discuss a consent calendar item should come forward to the lectern upon invitation by the mayor, state their name and item number. If the optional sign-in card has been completed, it should be placed in the box provided at the podium.
Okay. Councilman Henn?
Nothing.
Councilman Rosansky?
Nothing to pull, but I'd like to register an abstention on item number 8.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Curry?
Nothing.
Councilwoman Daigle?
I wanted to comment on a number of items. The first is 13. That's the acceptance of the completion of the road work at East Bluff Road. The road looks fantastic, so thank you. And then on 26, I see some members of the public, so I'm assuming they will be pulling that item. That's our undergrounding utility district in Santa Ana Heights. I see also the Chief of Staff for Supervisor Morlock's office. And then on number 12, that's an important Back Bay project. the Big Canyon Creek restoration project. It's one of the more degraded areas in the Back Bay, and we have some good funding by the Irvine Ranch Conservancy, the Irvine Company, and Coastal Conservancy. And also it was part of a centennial gift. And then I also see the JWA folks, so I'm thinking they're pulling that one. And then the items that I did want to pull would, no, I think they want to do that. And then number 4 and number 8, I did want to pull those 2 items.
So you're pulling 4 and 8?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Councilman Gardner?
Number 12, and I have 2 comments. On number 9, these staff reports are obviously for us on the council to help us make our decisions, but they also have a second audience, which is the general public. And I think when we're doing a consultant contract, particularly when it's a renewal, it would be nice to have a sentence or 2 about either the background or how they've helped us, so that it doesn't look like we're just hiring consultants at will. I mean, I know Larry Paul, I've worked with him a lot, but a lot of people don't. So just an observation there. And on number 14, I hate to sound like a broken record, but did we even consider permeable pavement?
No, we did not. I don't think that was something that was appropriate in that kind of situation with heavy trash trucks and heavy-duty vehicles, so we didn't think
then
it
you
would
did
hold
consider
up.
it. You thought
No,
about
we
it,
did,
and then
but
you
we-
rejected it. Good,
yes.
as long as you considered it.
Okay, so which item were you pulling again? Which ones were you pulling again? 12, just 12, okay. Councilman Webb?
Register an abstention on item number 16 on Mariners Park.
Okay. And I'm going to pull item number 20 just to fill in the blank there on the media committee. Staff have anything they want to pull?
We don't.
Okay, anybody from the public want to pull an item from the consent calendar? Okay, number 24.
Number 6 and number 8, please.
Okay, Councilman Olshansky.
Just a correction, actually, I missed it here. On the, are these the EQAC appointments as well, in item number 20?
No.
Oh,
No.
30, okay, all right. I'll deal with it then.
Okay, anyone else have anything they want to pull? Okay, with that, I'll bring it back to council. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I would move the adoption of the consent calendar items 1 through 26, with the exception of item 4, 6, 8, 12, 20, 24, 26, 13. We get pulling 13, right, East Bluff, or not? Nope, okay, not 13. With Councilmember Olshansky abstaining on number 8 and Councilmember Webb abstaining on number 16.
Second.
Yeah, who pulled 26? I don't remember that one being pulled.
Leslie,
No, I'm not pulling it. If the community wanted to, you're okay. And I do want to thank the PAC, though, for all your perseverance in that project. So thank you, as well as the supervisor's office.
then I would include item 26 in the motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
We got a gentleman out here
Second.
raising his hand for some.
Sorry, sir. Does pull mean that that's the one we want to talk about?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to pull 31.
31's not on the consent calendar.
Yeah,
is it?
31's not a consent calendar item. That's current business. Okay, anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, was there a second on that? Okay, please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, well, let's hope I can follow this. I think item number 4, that's the vessel anchoring in the ocean that was pulled by Councilwoman Daigle.
Yes, I have a question. There seem to be some new restrictions being placed on the boats, and one of them is that they're not able to leave their boat while it's moored for more than 3 hours a day. Is that an accurate representation of that regulation?
Yes, that is, Councilmember Daigle.
And what is the rationale? What purpose does that serve?
Well, the reason for that is because people are generally leaving their boats and going out about their business throughout the day, and things can happen. That's not, swells can rise and weather conditions can change quickly, and if they're not there to take care of their vessel, then the vessel can end up on the beach, which is what's happened several times over the past year.
Okay, now, are they, when they're moored, is it just not very secure?
Well, sometimes they are secure, but this is an ocean environment different from the harbor where there's little wake and waves and weather conditions. So we, yes, they are not as secure as they would be in the harbor. Things can happen, and they oftentimes do.
Okay, thank you.
I'd just like to mention that this has gone through the Coastal Bay Water Quality Committee with a lot of discussion, so they'd have their approval, if that helps.
Just a quick question. I'm looking at the record here, and it says a lot of times the vessel was impounded. Does that mean that we still hold those vessels, or they've been sold off, or were they reclaimed?
Sometimes all of the above. If sometimes the vessels are they wash ashore, as I mentioned, or they are impounded and then they pay the impound fees and reclaim them, or they do not, and we attempt to put them at auction and sell them.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Chris. Anyone from the public want to comment on this item? Okay, seeing none, bring it back to council for motion.
I move the motion.
Okay, please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item pulled was item number 6, selection of Clear Channel Outdoor as bus shelter provider for the city of Newport Beach. I believe that was yours also, Councilwoman Daigle? No? Oh, Laura, okay. I knew I was going to mess that up.
Good evening, council members. My name is Laura Curran. I'm commenting on this item because I had the opportunity to attend the budget meeting when it was first considered, and while I think there's a lot of good information here, I don't know if we really have the full picture. We only had one bidder, so we only have a limited amount of information from our bidder, but I provided some information to the committee about rates from other locations. And what I'm saying is they are paying us $60,000. They are offering to maintain about 27 shelters. Of those, 80%, or about in the 20 range, will have advertising capability. So they will be generating revenue. And what I don't see in this report is a complete analysis of the money we're getting in, the money Clear Channel is getting in from advertising, the cost to build the shelters, clean the shelters, maintain the shelters, move a shelter if there's an issue. And so what's the overall ROI to Clear Channel on this project versus to the city? So if we're getting $60,000 and we're getting shelters maintained, on the surface it looks like a good opportunity. But if you look at rates that Clear Channel is realizing from advertising, perhaps we're leaving money on the table that could be coming into city coffers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the public in this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll close it and bring it back to council.
Make a motion to approve as recommended by staff.
Okay, please vote.
Does staff want to respond to any of those questions that were raised by the person that pulled the item?
I'm looking around to see if Glenn Everode is here.
Well, here's Dennis Danner.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Glenn could not be here this evening, but Evelyn volunteered to stay, and she has most of the information on the contract, so I think she'd be best to answer any questions you may have.
Ms. Curran did provide information about the ROIs and stuff, and we attempted to contact, sorry, I'm too short for this, and we tried to contact Clear Channel, but they were very reluctant to give us any information about how much money they were getting in, what the maintenance fees would be, or anything like that. And because, as she pointed out, they were the only bidder on the table, we didn't have much negotiation room. So that's where we are right now.
Okay, any questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, any further council discussion on it? Please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item pulled is item number 8, amend the city manager's employment agreement to provide a monthly auto allowance. Councilwoman Daigle, is that yours?
Yes, I have a question. I was reading the recommendation. It said that the City Council, City Attorney Recruitment Committee, with Councilman Webb as chair, recommends the contract for the city manager be amended to provide for a car allowance. And I was appointed to that committee and under the resolution 2008-51. And when I checked my notes, there was no City Attorney Recruitment Committee discussion of that, so I'm wondering when we made that recommendation.
I believe that it was the group that was working in negotiation of the funding, or not the funding, but the salary compensation. So I guess in that situation, it really wasn't correctly the full committee, because it was, we talked it over with the mayor and Mike Henn.
Okay. So we're still able to proceed on that basis then with the item?
You're entitled to proceed, yes, you are.
Okay, thank you.
I would just note, if I may, Mr. Mayor, that the city manager has stepped down based upon a financial interest.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other comments from council on this? Anyone from the public want to address this issue?
Good evening. My name is Laura Curran. Yes, I'm trying to understand, based on the staff report, what the need is and what the risk is if we keep this item until September. There have been 6 contract renewals. It's 6 months, so this has not been an issue in the past. So why would we take this out of turn at this point? I mean, yes, there's always a financial benefit if you accelerate it, but it would seem that we could wait until September and negotiate it as part of the overall package. Is there a risk of losing our city manager if we don't take that step? And I would also say that we should look at this for other positions. If we're going to make a change like this for other manager-level positions, then we should look at all of them and do it at once versus doing them piecemeal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the public? Okay, I'll close it and bring it back to council. Any comments from council on this item?
I'd like to move the action.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a comment. There are 3 positions in the city that report directly to the city council, and that the city council directly manages the hiring and compensation of city manager, city attorney, and city clerk. And in the context of analyzing the compensation elements for the city attorney, we also looked at the city manager. We had previously looked at the city clerk, and it became clear that as a matter of equity here, it was appropriate to establish that at this time, having just hired the city attorney on the same basis. That does not preclude an analysis of other management positions, and so I'm sure over time that we'll have a look at that as well, although I cannot tell you what the appropriate outcome for that will be. But this outcome was based upon a careful analysis of as broad a sample of survey information as we could obtain.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Please vote.
With Councilmember Olshansky abstaining, the motion carries.
Okay, the next item pulled is item number 12. That's the Big Canyon Creek Restoration Project, approval of contract amendment number 1 to professional services agreement with VA Consulting, and I think that was yours, Councilwoman Gardner.
Obviously an important project and something that's very important to the health of the bay, but I did have a question about the pond. And is Dave Kiff here? Oh, there you are, Dave. I'm still looking back in the building. At one of our earlier meetings, we talked about the pond, and there was something about turtles, and I have a concern of creating a habitat that was perhaps not there before, and creating then down the road problems for ourselves, because we've seen this all over the city, well, all over the state, all over the country, that we have, with a good intention, we create more problems for ourselves. And I'm concerned that I think this is a fish and game suggestion, that if it becomes that we do establish a population or something, and then we're responsible for them, if anything goes wrong, we have to pay for it, and they don't do anything except tell us to do it. So could you perhaps flesh that out a bit? Maybe I'm misunderstanding it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. Actually, Councilwoman Gardner, you understand it quite well. As a part of the Big Canyon Creek Restoration Project, there exists today a freshwater pond, and that pond is there to encourage habitat for the western pond turtle. We haven't done a...
Western pond turtle. It was to encourage fowl that flew into the area 10 or
Point well
15
taken.
years ago.
And people have later adopted it as a potential site for the western pond turtle.
That's different.
You're correct. You're correct. This project would actually take out that pond entirely and replace equivalent habitat further upstream. And as your council is aware and the public's aware, we also have a selenium sink problem in the existing pond, and we're likely to see it in the future pond because of naturally occurring selenium concentrating in an area where freshwater ponds. So it's our expectation, I think the Public Works Director would agree, that with this project we are going to push back and try to not create a habitat that would create a selenium sink, and therefore potentially create the pond but not fill it, let the water flow through it. It arguably would not be the best habitat for western pond turtle at that point, but it also solves the selenium problem, which I think is the greater problem. Now, as I say all this, all of these negotiations need to still occur with the Resources Agency. Just know, please, that that's our direction, and I think that's the direction you've given, that not to create a problem that we may not be able to solve in the future.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Anyone from the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing no one, will bring it back to council for motion.
Move the action.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item pulled is item number 20, appointments by the mayor to the council citizens ad hoc committees. That was the item that I pulled, and that's for a clarification of the supplemental report that we received on the Media and Communications Committee. There's a vacant spot there. I will put my name in as a member of the committee, and Councilmember Gardner, I believe you agreed to serve as chair. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
Second.
Okay, anybody from the public want to comment? Seeing no one, please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item is oral reports from City Council on committee activities. Councilmember Henn.
I thought we had 24 on the consent.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. I apologize. Laura, you pulled item number 24?
Hello again. I'm Nancy Alston, and I live in Newport Beach, and I'm representing the views of airfare. First, I'd like to say you did a great job on East Bluff Drive. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Honorable council people and Mayor Selich, and also Manager Bluto, we were in favor of the Go Local study in the aspect of you need to know what the facts are before you can fight an airport, okay? And we thought that out of that Go Local study, we might get some nuggets of information. And lo and behold, I know the council has studied this, but I don't know that the public has, is that out of that Go Local study came this nugget of information that all of these leisure travelers are coming into JWA, and they're going up to North County to the recreation center at Anaheim. And just to simplify matters, and I know I'm speaking, that you know this, but I'm speaking also to the public. I want the public to read part of this Go Local study, is that, to simplify, we've got Ontario up here, and we've got JWA down here, okay? We've got Ontario who want, and they want to grow. And their owner, LAWA, Los Angeles World Airports, wants them to grow. And seemingly, from all the reports I get, and I get many just off the web, the people of Ontario, and we've heard the mayor up there speak about its growth, want Ontario to grow. And now we've got an airport down here that most of us do not want it to grow. And so if all of these travelers are coming in to JWA with the destination up at Anaheim, and there's a significant number that are doing that, then how can we go about getting those travelers to fly into Ontario? LAWA wants them to fly into Ontario because they want to make more money, and Ontario wants it because they want to expand. In fact, in a news report this week, Ontario said, we want to look like that area down in Orange County around John Dwayne Airport. And they want to have high rises, et cetera, et cetera. So out of this information that we've gotten from the Go Local study, surely there can be a strategy developed, and I would like for it to be developed sooner than later, a strategy developed so that we can figure out how do we get those passengers to fly into Ontario. It's about the same distance to Anaheim as JWA is. So I would urge the council and the staff to try to come up with a strategy that in 4 to 6 weeks so that we can, this is just one little puzzle to take care of John Wayne, but maybe that's the solution, just little pieces of the puzzle that we can finally put together. We have a lull right now because of the economy, and we all hope that doesn't last very long. But that gives us an opportunity to make plans, and I would urge this council, as well as this city, to cooperate with LAWA, because maybe there's a solution for all of us in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Nancy, maybe we could take a page out of the Angels playbook and rename it Anaheim Airport at Ontario.
Firstly, I would like to thank the council for the opportunity.
State your name, please.
Oh, Christine McKay. I would like to thank all of you for the opportunity to speak with you, and also note that Nancy is a tough act to follow. I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of the Airport Working Group of Orange County, which most of you already know as AWG. And firstly, we would like to commend the council and the city for initiating the Go Local study. We also feel that this study identifies potential solutions for reducing the number of air passengers at John Wayne Airport. These solutions relieve traffic congestion in the area surrounding JWA while linking air passengers' demand to facilities that are aggressively trying to expand their operations. AWG is recommending that the council continue to work with Southern California communities and participate with regional organizations to explore regional solutions to meeting air traffic demand that alleviate pressure at already overburdened local airports. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. Bludow. Heather Summers, resident of City of Costa Mesa and a member of Airfare. I also commend this council for initiating the Go Local study with Peggy Ducey and Associates, and commend that you have found a potential solution to the regional problem that we have of transportation to the areas and to the actual airports that have the capacity. As we all know, the cities surrounding the airports have the most impact, and I would encourage this council, in that you have the Go Local report, that you contact not only the corridor cities that are impacted like we are in both Costa Mesa and Newport Beach with John Wayne as their flight patterns as well as time frames and noise, but the corridor cities as well as the Department of Transportation to continue and further this study. I'm aware that you're going to be potentially receiving and filing this tonight, but I would ask that you consider looking at this in a 4 to 6 week time frame again. Find other funding sources, either through the regional transportation funding slots that we have available to us, through the Department of Transportation, through corridor cities, and definitely work with LAWA. The findings that LAWA had, as well as the Go Local report, were significant as far as what our expectations can be for taking the amount of people that are against the coast, that where we have the most people that use the airports, to the airports inland that have the capacity. And so I do commend you all for looking to find the solutions that we need to look for and take the burden off of John Wayne Airport. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council. Any comments? Anyone? Councilman
just
Gardner?
that this isn't just to be filed. I noticed that we are going to get some response on it. You laid out some steps that you wanted to follow.
Just
right.
review and file.
Right. But you have laid out some steps that you intend to follow. And
I'm going to lay out some steps for the city council when we review your priorities, which
right.
you initially discussed on Saturday. I certainly agree with what all three speakers said. I think this study provided us some really good information, and that there is the opportunity, at least on this issue, to try and form a partnership with LAWA in order to accomplish what both of us would like to see. So I would expect that some steps would be come back to you for a recommendation as part of our airport strategy.
Okay.
I would just say I'm really looking forward to the ongoing involvement of our community groups. You've dedicated already thousands of hours on this issue, so thank you. And I think those ideas are ones we're going to run with, so thank you.
Okay, this is receive and file, so there's no action necessary on it. We'll now move on to oral reports from City Council on committee activities. Councilmember Henn.
Yes, I do have a report from the Ad hoc Committee for Group Homes. For the last 2 or 3 council members meetings, I have been mentioning that we are involved in the process of use permit hearings to be conducted under the purview of the ordinance that we passed over a year ago. And I'm very pleased to say that we are moving through that process of use permit hearings at a very good pace now. We've had 2 hearings actually on Balboa Horizons, and eventually Balboa Horizons was approved for a use permit with a series of conditions that will assure that that operation, in order to continue to operate under the provisions of the permit, will have to operate in a way that is cognizant of the needs of the neighborhood and the neighbors that are affected by it. Then just yesterday, there was a decision tentatively rendered by the hearing officer on Newport Coast Recovery, the second such meeting for that use permit hearing. And the hearing officer concluded that he wished to deny that permit in its entirety and instructed staff to come back at the next hearing to provide a resolution and appropriate findings in support of that conclusion. And so I would expect on January 22nd the hearing officer will sign that denial. So 1 approved, 1 denied. There are 3 more organizations that will have to go through the use permit process, including a second hearing on Kramer Center on 28th Street and a hearing on Ocean Recovery, which has 2 locations in Mid-Peninsula. And then a third remaining in, I believe it's Yellowstone in Santa Ana Heights, that is filed for use permit. And so I'm expecting, Ocean Recovery is scheduled for January 29th, and then sometime thereafter Yellowstone. So we are moving through this process, in my view, quite well, and making good and rational decisions based on the facts of each circumstance. I'm very pleased with all of this. I would like to commend, first off, the citizens of Newport Beach who have supported this process. It does take citizen involvement to make sure we render a fair decision in each of these. It is a burden on our citizens to do that. I thank them for that. I thank the city staff for their ongoing diligence and attention to this whole issue. It takes tremendous amounts of time, and I thank my fellow council members who also are devoting tremendous amounts of time to this issue. I am hopeful that we will move through this and get to a point of stability and out of the legal arena in the not too distant future, recognizing there are still a number of things to be determined. I would also like to make sure that the public knows that on January the 27th, the next City Council meeting, we intend to consider the Sober Living by the Sea settlement agreement and review and pass on that at the council level here. And I would certainly invite any members of the public to attend and voice their views of that, really any members of the public. So please put that on your calendar and come down and talk to us if you have an opinion. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Olshansky?
Nothing, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Curry?
No items.
Councilwoman Daigle?
None, thank you.
Councilwoman Gardner?
Yes, on Wednesday, January 21st, at 6 o'clock in the Friends Meeting Room at the Central Library, we will be discussing the Crone-Del parking plan. We've been doing a study on it, and we'll be discussing it publicly. So if you wish to hear about it or you wish to speak about it, 6 o'clock, October 21st.
Okay. Councilman Webb? I just have one announcement. 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon in this room, we'll be having a meeting of the General Plan Implementation Committee reviewing the zoning code. We're getting close to a complete rewrite of our zoning code, and so anyone that's interested, 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Okay, with that, we'll move on to our public hearings. Our first public hearing this evening is the Airport Business Area Integrated Conceptual Development Plan, item number 27 on the agenda, and I understand from the city attorney that we do have an objection that's been received to this project by the city of Irvine, so I'm going to allow him to elaborate on that at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Today, we received correspondence from special counsel retained by the City of Irvine objecting to the environmental review of the process utilized by the City of Newport Beach in proceeding forward this matter. It's a four-page plus attachments correspondence. We received it this afternoon, or I received it this afternoon. I have not had a full time to evaluate all of the citations that they have given, and they've given us extensive citations. It is my recommendation, therefore, in light of the nature of this correspondence, as well as the potential motivation of the City of Irvine to take action if they feel it's appropriate, that the council put this matter over after opening the public hearing for the public who is present to approximately a month from now, so give the City Attorney's Office the opportunity to review the objections by the City of Irvine and come up with potential solutions or address them for the benefit of the council.
Okay. And how long did you want to continue this over for, too?
I would like to go 2 meetings, if I may, so 1 month.
Okay, 1 month.
With
All right.
February 10th would be, February 10th, I believe, is what I'm told.
February 10th. Okay. Why don't we take a motion on that first, and then I'll open the hearing?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, make a motion to continue this item until the February 10th hearing.
Okay. With that understanding, does anyone feel compelled to testify at this time? Seeing no one, I'll close the hearing. Please vote.
Did you mean? Okay. Did you mean? Okay. Okay, nice. The motion carries.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
Public comments are invited on non-agenda items generally considered to be within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Speakers must limit comments to 3 minutes. Before speaking, please state your name for the record.
Okay, does anyone wish to address the council on public comments? Anything not on the agenda? Seeing no one, close that part of the agenda. Move on to the next item, which is Planning Commission agenda and oral status report.
Mr. Mayor, I gave Mr. Lipo the night off because this was the only item he had on the agenda, and he trusted me to make the report because there was only one item on the Planning Commission agenda. And that item was our first, actually, application to use the interim study overlay district to deal with the inconsistency between the general plan and the zoning. And this was for Avis on Campus Drive in the airport area campus tract. And Avis wishes to expand their existing facility. The commission had some questions for the staff and made some changes to some of the conditions of approval on the use permit that went along with the overlay district and recommended approval to the city council. And this will be coming to you, I believe, on January 27th.
Okay. Any questions to staff? Anybody from the public want to comment on this? Okay. Seeing no one, we'll close that item. No continued business this evening, so we'll move on to current business. The first item is number 29, an unscheduled vacancy on the Parks, Beaches, and Recreation Commission, and this is to appoint a committee of Mayor Pro Tem Curry, Councilwoman Gardner, and Councilman Webb to serve on the Appointments Committee. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, anybody from the public want to comment on this item? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, the next item is appointments to the Environmental Quality Affairs Committee. I'll just fill in the blank here as chairperson to continue with Ken Drelishek, who's the current chairman, as chairperson. Councilmember Olshansky, you had something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just want to reverse the order of those appointments. Merritt Van Zandt lives in District 2, but I don't believe that Kevin Kelly does. I think he's lives in District 1, and so he would be an at-large as opposed to a District 2 appointment.
Okay, any other changes by any other council member to the report?
I think for the same reason, we may want to flip Joan Penfield and Arlen Greer.
Okay, you get that?
Yes, she does.
Okay, then we're fine.
Okay, so you're fine. Everyone else okay? Okay, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Second.
Okay, anybody from the public wish to comment?
I just have one comment,
Yes.
that Laura Dietz is stepping down from EQAC. She served 10 years and has been an invaluable member, and she was one of the first to really get our Green Task Force moving, so I want to thank her very much for her service to that committee.
Okay, thank you. Anybody from the public wish to comment? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to council. Please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, the next item is item number 31, ordinance amending section 7.04.050 of Title VII of the Newport Beach Municipal Code pertaining to dogs at the 38th Street Park.
Well, good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This item is seeking your consideration for amendment to the ordinance pertaining to dogs, specifically at 38th Street Park, and in addition to that, a budget amendment, which would allow us to install some additional turf in the park area for dog walking purposes. And to give you a brief background about 38th Street Park, we've got an aerial that I'd like to draw to your attention, and it runs along Balboa Boulevard and Park Lane. To the north, there are basketball courts that are fenced in. As you move down the park, there's an entryway into the park along Balboa Boulevard as well as the backside on Park Lane. There are 4 planter areas on both of these entryways that currently contain rose bushes and palm trees. As you move to the south, there's another fenced-in area which contains a playground area as well as open space, which is actually turfed in. The residencies surrounding this park, it's very densely populated and contains homes that most of them don't have yards to walk their pets in or keep them outside. So many of the residents are coming out into the neighborhood and using 38th Street Park to walk their dogs, which has caused some concern from the residents that are using that park for active play in the basketball court area as well as the playground area. This was brought to our attention as well as our staff were very aware of it due to Park Patrol stopping at this park several times a day. There are concerns from the residents in regards to folks coming into the park and letting their dogs run loose off leash. It's unique because it has a fenced-in area, so that provides some security to dog owners to take their dogs off leash and let them run loose. There's also a tremendous amount of concern about pets not being picked up after and the unsanitary conditions that creates as well for kids that are playing in the playground area and running in the grass area that's actually adjacent to the playground. So we brought this matter to the PB&R Commission in December, and we provided them with a couple of recommendations to solve the issues and concerns. Staff did recommend option 1, which was to go in and remove the rose bushes, keep the palm trees in place, but remove those rose bushes and replace it with turf area that would allow for dog owners to walk their dogs and The other option was option 2, which would have been to further delineate this area and install a fence which would separate the playground from the open grass area. We were concerned about that option because it almost attracts dog owners to come to that area and allow their dogs to run off leash. But also it detracts from the play area here, which provides for a nice space for kids and their families to play on the playground and run in the grass area. So we did recommend option 1 to the commission. They did take that under consideration. There was quite a bit of comment from the public that came in that evening. But the recommendations that you're looking at this evening have been brought forward from the PBNR Commission. I do want to point out that over the last year, there's been 45 verbal or written warnings written in regards to dogs at this park over the last year. 2 of them resulted in citations. It has always been Park Patrol's philosophy to warn and bring folks into compliance before citations are written and given. In these 2 incidences, that was exactly the case, that warnings had been given and those dog owners did not comply with our Park Patrol's request to either put their dog back on a leash or pick up after their pet. I have a couple more slides here that can illustrate a couple things for you. There are some other options for dog owners to take their dogs to that is adjacent to 38th Street Park. There's the beachfront right here. There's Newport Island Park. There's also a nice turf area here that runs along the channel, as well as Channel Place Park up here as well. So we do feel there are some options for dog owners to take their dogs for a walk. And this was a difficult situation and one that we felt that needed some remedy, and certainly it's not our intention to ban dogs from parks, but given the circumstances surrounding this, we felt that we did need to bring some action and bring it forward to City Council to consider. This is the entry into the park off of Balboa Boulevard, and the area that we are proposing is behind this shrub area, which would and behind that is some rose bushes, so we're proposing to remove those and put in turf in that area. We did note in the staff report if council did want to consider adding a second area so there was an over-concentration of urine and defecation, that would probably be a good solution to add a second area. It would provide some uniformity to the park as well as you're entering into it. A closer view at the planter areas. You can see the palm tree as well as the rose bushes, and the second planter is very similar. It has the same type of landscaping in it. So this does conclude my report, Mr. Mayor, and I'm certainly happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Gardner?
I'm a dog owner, but I really have to say I disagree with our enforcement policy, because unless you're illiterate, every time you go to any park, there's a sign there that says pick up after your dog. I went running at Grant Howell Park the other day. I had to pick up after 5 dogs, or one dog that went 5 times, I don't know. I pick up after my dog. We shouldn't be educating these people. What do you have to educate them about? I mean, pick it up. It's rude, it's dirty. So before we even get into that, I just want to express my displeasure with that aspect of it. I think we should be, if people are not picking them after, particularly if they're not picking them after the dogs, they don't need to be educated. They're just rude. They need to be cited and spend the money.
Okay. Councilman Webb?
I guess one of the comments that I might make is why are we putting turf in? I can see removing the rose bushes, but it would seem like to me if we're trying to provide a place for dogs to relieve themselves, that the wood chips might even be a better place to do it than grass. Secondly,
Pretty with female dogs.
secondly, I helped build this park, but beside that, I visited it, and the grass area is relatively small. Where's the closest hot lot to this? You mentioned other places for dogs to go, but there's not a whole lot of other tot lots around, if I remember correctly.
Newport Island Park has a tot lot as well.
Right, but it
So
doesn't
that's the
have,
closest.
it's not fenced in to the extent that you would feel as comfortable letting your child or young child
Correct.
loose, you want to call it that way. And I guess the comment is there's such a little area there that in cleaning up after the animals, you never get it all, and I wouldn't want my grandchildren there, so I support your recommendation 100%.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll open this up to the public for public comment. Sure, and state your name when you come forward, please.
Thank you. I sent a lot of you an email, and I appreciate those that actually...
Your name?
Mike Gordon, I'm sorry. I'm a 20-year resident at 36th Street. On that first map, I live right at the end of the park near where the kids' side is. Our family's been real active volunteers in the community working with mainly youth sports. I'm a big fan of kids. I've donated thousands of hours. But on 12/2, there was a meeting of the Parks Department regarding a problem with dogs being let off their leash and not being cleaned up after, both of which are illegal and carry stiff fines. I appreciate what Nancy had to say. And while we agree with the neighbors, we raised 2 kids there, by the way, and we dealt with that too. We did call to ask if they'd get the stuff picked up, and they said it's a public park. They have rights, you have rights. Now, I guess that's not the case now, according to the Parks Department. Irresponsible citizens break the law, and it's wrong. And like Laura mentioned, 45 warnings and 2 tickets. Let's reverse that and give 2 warnings and 45 tickets. I think your problem's gone. And you haven't spent city money in what's arguably a pretty tough year, at least for most people. Instead, you brought in probably over $20,000 in fines. When we were entering the meeting, a neighbor of mine that was actually for the ban said, yeah, I don't know really what you're here to argue about. Their mind's already been made up. And I said, well, how do you know that? And they pointed out that 2 months before bringing this up for consideration, they already took down signs the city had paid for that like Nancy said $500 fine, I believe it was, for not picking up after your dog, fines for letting them off the leash. And on that, I have a cute little dog that actually all the kids like. I don't like the dogs off the leash either because it scares the tar out of my little dog when a big dog runs up to it. They took out signs that the city had already paid for. They installed a gate and a sign that said no dogs allowed 2 months before they were going to consider what they should do. After hearing them talk before we were even allowed to talk, it was apparent their minds had already been made up. What they had told us before was they did mention the Bay Strip Park, which if you want to go look at that, the whole end of it's already completely yellow from too many dogs using it. They also mentioned the ends of the streets where they were near the bay. I walked to the end of the street. There were 8 unpicked up dog nuisances, and one of the reasons for that is there's no bags. If you send the people away to the park where they put the bags, because that's where their dogs are supposed to walk, you go to the end of the street, there's no bags. Also, now the dogs are going on the sidewalks and the alleys. I guess, to me, that's not all that appealing. The main point that I emailed that for was I wanted to meet and emphasize. I empathized with the parents with the little kids. Like I said, I had them, and only option 1 was even voted on. When my wife called, they told her, they mentioned option 2. They didn't think of any other options. And so I had emailed you guys different options. I'm not going to read them all, but the first one I think that I will repeat is try for 6 months enforcing the law that you already have, and see if that works. You haven't spent anything. You've made a lot of money, and see if that works. If it doesn't, I thought of an option, too, that we tried to think of a win-win. I mean, I have some neighbors that are for this. I don't really want to take away their rights. They kind of want to take away mine, though. But I thought, what would be a win-win? Because I like my neighbors. I've always gotten along with everybody. What if we took all 4? You see this postage stamp here? If you did 4 of those, then it would be uniform. And then the basketball end that doesn't have little kids, and what she forgot to point out, I don't know if she's actually been to the park, is not only is there entrance there, there's an exit on both ends of the basketball end. You can't let a dog run free. Not that it's never happened, but there's
Mike, you got 1 minute left.
Okay, so what my second option was to do the 4 spots and the little bit of grass around the basketball and enforce the laws if somebody isn't responsible. This keeps peace between all the neighbors. So I wanted just to ask you to please do the right thing. We're not asking you to take anybody's rights away. I just want you to please not take our rights away. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, and Mr. Bludow. My name is Joel Stone. I'm a resident on Park Lane in the city of Newport Beach. I've been a resident for over 15 years. I was blessed with a wife and 2 young children in the last 5 years. I also speak on behalf of my next-door neighbor, Renee Cachet. She's off with her husband attending a wedding in New Zealand and couldn't be here tonight. We want to in particular thank the council, but also in particular the Park Beaches and Recreation Commission and the city staff for the very careful consideration and research they did in preparing and presenting the recommendation they have for the council this evening. We urge the council to approve that recommendation, to pass the recommendation. It strikes a fair balance of all interests. I'd like to point out that the park that's been there since I moved in, at least the children's park area that I'm most concerned about in light of my young children, is a children's play area. My kids shouldn't have to run through that area and worry about stepping in or falling into dog feces, having to smell dog urine, or just dealing with that unsanitary condition. I think it's been mentioned that there really is no other tot lot in this area. One thing I've noticed, my neighbor mentioned that a couple months ago, a gate went up and closing the one entrance or exit to that tot lot area, and a sign saying no dogs allowed. Now, not everyone's paid attention to that sign, but I've been surprised that, well, not surprised, but thankful, actually, that my law-abiding neighbors have, for the most part, obeyed that sign. I've seen the grass come back and look greener and more beautiful than it has before. One of the most significant things I've seen, though, is a steady increase of parents and children coming to the park that in 15 years I've never seen before. I hear children laughing. I see parents sitting on the grass with their children playing. This is what this park should be. I think this is what the park was intended to be. If we take away that grass play area, if we take away the playground area by allowing dogs to run in that park, as they have been, defecate, urinate, jump on strollers, as happened to my wife when she was there with my infant son. She came home just appalled, just shocked that some person would allow their dog to run free and jump on my son's stroller. The kids don't have a safe, clean place to play. Again, I thank the commission, staff, for that careful consideration they made in listening to public comment from all sides, considering it, and coming up with what is the best solution to a balanced use of our city's resource in this area. And I'd urge the council to adopt the ordinance as recommended. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to comment on this?
Jim Miller, and I also support the motion. Good job, Joel.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Okay, seeing no one else, I'll close the public testimony, bring it back to council. Councilman Henn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm a father of 3 and a grandfather of a 6-year-old and the owner of a dog. So I think I have a view of all sides of this issue. And I'm certainly not against dogs being in our parks as a general rule. I think, though, the facts of this situation do command the answer that is being recommended, and I'll offer one amendment shortly. This is a little jewel of a park, and that play area for the kids really is so well complemented with the little bit of grass that's just to the east of it. And because it is so concentrated and so enclosed, I'm not confident that an enforcement solution over time will work. It might work first time out, and then slowly but surely it'll get bad again. And so I really do believe that this is the right answer. And for the benefit of balancing the issue, I would like to amend the motion here, or the adoption here, to include grassing over at least the two parts of the entryway off Balboa Boulevard, and if General Services deems it feasible, to grass in the other two on the opposite side of that, so that we have enough grass that we won't be seeing yellow instead of green, and it'll actually be a balanced approach to the park, and I think actually a good bit more attractive than it is today, at a minimal cost. This is a very small cost.
Could we get the park picture up there again of the diagram so I can see what you're really talking about?
This is the entrance off of Balboa Boulevard.
Next one. A larger view of it.
There you go.
Okay, so where are you talking about?
She's really talking about, this is one area, and then there's another area here, and there's another quadrant there, and there's another quadrant there.
So all those would be, all right. I would just wonder, though, because I've had both male and female dogs, and female dogs really are death on grass, why we wouldn't want to do artificial turf. I know Crondemar Animal Hospital uses it because they have a kennel there, and it looks great, and it seems to work well. That might be it'd be something where we wouldn't have to worry about the grass dying because it's over inundated.
I imagine that would raise the cost a bit, but, you know, that wouldn't bother me to do that.
Unfortunately, I don't have costs on that, so something that we didn't look at, unfortunately.
And I'm not sure that staff is prepared to speak as to what the maintenance effort would need to be on that artificial turf and how easy it would clean and over time whether it might even stain.
Right. With the turf, we would essentially have the contractor out there mowing. My assumption would be is if we put in artificial turf, it would take additional effort to get out there and hose those areas down on a more frequent basis.
Well, I know the turf study is on the chopping block, but I think one of the things that we were going to understand from that is comprehensively the pros and cons of using turf. You know, and some of the cons are, you know, the health department's been getting involved with it and cleaning it and so on. So it's not a silver bullet necessarily. There are some downsides to it, and I think what we're going to do is take a look at it.
In reality, I'm not going to recommend that $40,000 be frozen. I thought it was important to go forward with at least the first phase, which would be the study that would answer us some questions, and I could come back and see if you wanted to go forward within phase 2. That was not one I was going to be recommending that we delete.
Councilmember Webb?
I guess that I'm somewhat concerned of why we need to have grass. So what's wrong with removing the rose bushes and using the wood chips that are there already? The presence of the dogs will cause the grass to get yellow and make it difficult to maintain, and I don't understand why we couldn't get by just as easily with the wood chips.
I see the maintenance expert stepping forward here.
And it's already there.
That's a very good question, and we've had a lot of conversation with dog owners, and there is a desire from them to have turf. It's something that they feel that their dogs enjoy more in picking up after them. You do carry quite a bit of the wood chips, and they tend to migrate out of those areas, and so that was the direction that we went because they really do enjoy the grass area. Mark, did you want to add to it?
Thanks, Laura. Yeah, and I would agree with Laura. That is what the public or the residents in that area asked for. The problem with what I call the back side of the park, and Don, if you could, the park lane.
You mean over here?
Side. Right. We don't get any sun back there, and the concern was I don't think turf would do very well.
Maybe that could be a wood chip area.
A wood chip, or a lot of dog parks use DG, decomposed granite, and that is a very very safe, natural material to use as well. So it might be turf on the front side on Balboa, and then DG or wood chip on the back side.
Okay. So, Mr. Mayor, I would like to amend my motion in favor of the solution that Mr. Harmon just suggested, turf on the front and DG on the back, and I think that'll work just fine.
Second.
And
Okay.
DG doesn't get yellow, I guess.
It already
Oh, it
is.
Okay,
You would still maintain the hedges around it to where it will offer some green from the street and won't look like it's just an undeveloped sand lot.
Yeah, the hedge is approximately 2 feet high, and you won't see the sand lot or the wood chips or whatever we decide to go with. So the hedge keeps it looking pretty nice. Laura brought up a good point with the DG or the wood chip. Obviously, there would be cost savings as well. We would just cap off the irrigation, and we wouldn't have the water expense that we would have if we turfed the entire area. So, if we in the sun side on Balboa, if we did the turf and everybody was happy with that, the back side could be something else.
Okay. Any other council comment? Please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item is item number 32, discussion of Oasis Senior Center funding. Mr. Bludow?
I think Dennis Danner is going to handle this presentation.
Well, good evening again, Mayor and council members. The item before you this evening is just to elicit some discussion about the Oasis Senior Center and the funding options for the Senior Center. This item has been before the Finance Committee on a number of different occasions, and because of the financial turmoil in the market recently, the last time it was discussed at the Finance Committee, it was recommended that we prepare funding documents to issue some sort of debt to finance the Oasis Senior Center, but basically to have those documents shelf ready, so when the market turns around and it's opportune to possibly issue debt, that we're ready to avail ourselves of those market conditions. Recently, we met on November 6th, I believe, as a Finance Committee, and it was not a good time at that point to be issuing any type of debt. It got worse in December, but just recently, I've received information just this week, yesterday and again today, that the bond market has turned around. It is getting back to normal, and if we were to issue debt today, it would probably be in the 5.25% range. But again, the purpose of tonight's discussion is to just elicit some comments from the council about how to proceed on this, on the Oasis Senior funding. I do have a timeline that we prepared. This just, we were prepared today. It phases the construction costs over the period between now and November 2010. Construction cost estimated about $20.1 million. And as you know, it was the intention all along that the Friends of Oasis, and through development agreements and Hoag Hospital and the Irvine Company, that approximately half of that, or $10 million, would be raised through a funding effort, and the other $10 million would be provided by the city. And so anyway, tonight we'd like to hear your comments. And this was put on the agenda at the request of Councilman Olshansky in December.
Councilman Olshansky?
Yes, I did request it, and thank you, Dennis, and thank you, Homer, for finally bringing that forward, since we are going to be commencing construction with this project, I believe sometime early March. After reading the report and getting the report on our cash reserves last Saturday at our priority setting meeting, I'm satisfied that this is a prudent way to proceed in light of certainly the financial markets, as well as the fact that we do have the money, and it's not going to sap our entire fund. I believe we have over $20 million now, with another $3 or $4 million going into that account. So it seems like this is a prudent way to spend the money without having to resort to the financial markets at this time. Thank you.
I should mention, too, I forgot to mention that we are meeting this Thursday with our financial advisors, the underwriters and the financial consultants, again, to get those documents shelf-ready so that we'll be ready to issue this debt when it's prudent to do so.
In the last few years, what has been the city's, or would have been the city's, I guess, prospective interest rate had we wanted to go out to the markets?
Help me out, Councilman Curry. I would think it was either high 4s, low 5s.
Yeah, if I may, if we were having this conversation a year ago, we'd probably be looking at about a 4.5. The market moved up, as Dennis indicated, when we looked at this on November the 6th, we were in a 6% plus market environment, which had almost been unheard of for issuers of our grade in California, really right up until 2008. Borrowing rates in the 4s and 5s had been the norm. We saw in September the liquidity crisis, and we saw interest rates pretty much peak on the 16th of December. Had we gone to market then, we probably would have been looking at about a 650 in a very limited market. What we've seen since the 17th of December has been a daily improvement in the market that has been very, very significant. As Dennis had indicated, both our financial advisors and my office, when we looked at the number today, came up with the same number, about a 525, which I think puts us in the target zone for a long-term borrowing, sort of relative to where the interest rates have been on a historic basis for all municipal issuers going back more than a decade, which would certainly make this an affordable project. We're fortunate in that we have the flexibility, and I think Dennis's comments bear out our strategy of using our cash to advance the project, to keep construction online, to take advantage of this improved construction environment, and then being opportunistic to, number one, achieve the highest ratings that we can get for a financing of this type, likely to be in the AA category, which will enable us to borrow without the need for credit enhancement. That market is pretty much disrupted, still disrupted nationally, and to lock in a very effective cost of funds on a long-term basis, and then reimburse ourselves for the cash that we advance so that we can proceed then with these other projects that we have queued up, such as City Hall and the others, are right behind OASIS. So I think it's been a very effective strategy that staff has monitored. I do think we need to be ready. The market may still move away from us, but it looks like these imbalances have, literally on a daily basis since December 17, steadily improved. So I think we would be prudent to be ready to go, to come back to council so that we can discuss and have full disclosure about the potential par sizes of any financing, and look at interest rate environment and our rating environment in the near future.
Any other comments?
There's a chart on the board up here that illustrates what the Councilman Curry just mentioned. We did hit above 6.5 mid-December, and you can see what the rates have done since then. And if you went out a little bit further, they're actually down further. We just received information actually this morning that it would be about 5.25.
Okay, I've just got, I guess 2 questions. One, the 5.6 in the Irvine Company, that's due when we award the contract. Do I remember that correctly?
That's correct.
So they will give us that cash infusion. Then the $4.4 million that the OASIS has raised, when is that money coming in?
That actually comes in over a period of time. 2.5 million of that is pledged by Hoag Hospital, and it's my understanding that they're willing to contribute $500,000 a year for 5 years, although there's been discussion that perhaps that schedule could be sped up. There's $697,000 that OASIS, the Friends of OASIS, have raised to date. That's just cash that they've already received. They have pledges for almost another $900,000, which puts their contribution to date at about $9.7 million. So they realize they have a couple, $300,000 to $400,000 yet to raise, but they're confident that they can do so.
Okay.
But still, that actually money won't be in our coffers for maybe as long as 5 years?
That's correct.
So that we need to...
That's why we could bond, and then, as you know, you pass a reimbursement resolution that allows yourselves to pay back once those funds are received.
That's the point. So that we can go ahead with the project without waiting for 100% of the money to be in our coffers.
Correct.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Henn.
A couple of other points here. We have a continuum of projects here that over a period of 15 years, we know we have to replace quite a number of facilities that are aged and in need of replacement here in the city. And so the need for funds is very lumpy depending upon the timing and the size of each project. The receipt of funds that the city uses to help satisfy that need is a lot smoother, but still sometimes lumpy as well. And so there are two overriding situations here that we need to be cognizant of, and I know there's been concern amongst the electorate that the city is embarking upon a program here where money might be borrowed from time to support this activity. We will be assured, number one, that we will be looking every time there is a borrowing need at the city's debt payment capacity. We've got a target in mind of what percentage of revenue that ought to be. We're going to make sure we don't exceed that percentage of revenue, and we're going to do what we need to do to protect that very excellent bond rating that the city has throughout the whole continuum of this process. And secondly, we're going to make sure every time we start a major project, we have clear visibility of how that project is going to be funded, so that we don't start a project and then in the middle of it wind up with a case of the shorts here about how we're going to pay it and be concerned that we might actually have to stop a project or do some other emergency situation. So we're going to observe both of those requirements very carefully here as we go forward and manage this whole process in a very prudent, very consistent way, very conservative way.
Is lumpy, is that a term that really the financial wizards use, huh?
That's a financial term of art, yes.
I think it was Adam Smith said something like, the formation of capital is lumpy, something like that.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, I don't think there's any change in the direction that the staff is proceeding, so no action necessary on this item. Thank you, Dennis. Okay, next item is item number 33. Public comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Item 33, City Hall and Park Master Plan Project, approval of professional services agreement with Olshansky for architectural design services.
Mayor and members of council, we're asking you tonight is the first big step in our adventure for new City Hall. We're asking for tonight is the pre-design phase of architectural design services at a cost not to exceed $740,675. Amongst the work that's going to be included in this scope is essentially addressing all of the issues that have been raised by the design committee and the council regarding the concept plan and modifications that should be made to that concept plan. All of those items are actually incorporated in the scope of work for this consultant or architect. And we're hoping to wind up this rather intense process towards the end of March. So we're going to have 3 months of really intense efforts to get this project moving forward, as well as getting a very good concept on the ground and accepted with the public, vetted through at least two public meetings, workshops, and then culminating in the City Council hearing and hopefully approval in early April. With that, I'll answer any questions you might have regarding this.
Any questions of staff? Councilman Henn?
Yeah, just a couple. Will there be consistency for the project management software and cost estimation software between the architect and the construction or the project manager, I should say?
Yes, there will be. In fact, that's we're having our first big meeting starting tomorrow, a 2-day staff meeting, essentially. And one of the items on our agenda is to talk about building information modeling systems, where we're going to have both C.W. Driver, who hopefully will be approved tonight as our program manager, along with the architect to work together and make sure that we're on the same page.
All right. So I didn't see that in the contract here, a requirement on the part of the architect in that respect, but you expect to achieve that then along the way.
I think there's some general agreement that we want to move that way.
Okay. I realize that the committee did not recommend the construction of a model because it is, after all, $45,000, as I understand it. But, boy, this is a very large, highly visible, once-in-a-lifetime project that's going to generate a lot of interest as we go along, and I, for one, wouldn't mind spending that money, honestly, to have a model that we could have along the way and for the citizens to really get a very good visual grasp of what we wind up with here, what we're going to build to, I should say, when the design phase is really completed here.
Okay, any other council comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I did have a comment because I received some communication from constituents today on a couple of issues, and that was where we are in reducing the glare, and then secondly, staying within the view plane. I know there was some direction the council gave at the priority setting session. If you can maybe repeat that for the benefit of those that didn't attend that session.
Okay, Dave, do you want to take care of that?
Sure. Mr. Mayor and council members, at your goal-setting session or priority-setting session on Saturday, you developed a consensus on a number of things. One was to make sure that light and glare are thoroughly addressed, and know that the direction to the architect is that it be addressed through some type of system, including the term was louvers or other systems, with the focus on other systems. So indeed you did say that was one of your goals, to reduce light and glare. As to the view plane, you unanimously said that nothing should protrude above the view plane, and that the architect could potentially keep the sail but reduce that below the view plane by reducing the building pad, or other options available to them that they'll come back with.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Henn?
One or two more things.
Okay.
What is the paradigm that we're going to use here with the architects? They're located in San Francisco. The project's down here. I see where they're going to be making trips down here on a regular basis. Will there be dedicated office space available to them down here, or the project manager? How do you expect to handle that?
Mayor and council, we're exactly looking into that right now. In fact, we're exploring a potential space just a couple of blocks from here that we might be able to lease for a period of about a year or so. We also have another option that we've been exploring with some city property as well, but it's probably a little bit more cumbersome alternative. But we expect to make a decision shortly on that, and I think I think this staff needs to kind of figure out the logistics of it, and we do need a dedicated space, though, because we do not really have the space right here in City Hall with the shortage of meeting rooms as it is for us to do things. You can see that schedule. We have an intensive 2-day meeting with our consultants every other week, so it's going to require quite a bit of requirement in space, as well as weekly conference calls, and we intend to do some telecommunications, some audiovisual type devices, so that we can really keep in touch with the consultants on this one. So.
Okay, one last comment. My daughter regularly flies round trip from Oakland to Orange County for $225, and I noticed in here a $500 estimate for that plane flight. So it's not so much that one particular item, but I am presuming that we will be scrutinizing the expenses associated with this and minimizing them wherever possible. Somebody on staff will be having a look at that and challenging items like that.
We'll certainly work with them to make sure they hold those costs
because
down.
The expense portion, the reimbursable expense portion of this is a fair amount of money. I realize that that's largely due to the fact that they're located in San Francisco, but I would hope we have a sharp eye on that.
Okay, does anyone from the public want to comment on this item? This is the City Hall architect contract.
Sorry, my name is Aaron Swinson. I was wondering if the city has a video conferencing system set up in place to speak to them rather than flying back and forth to San Francisco.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yes, we're working on that right now. We're working with our IT folks. We're working with the architect as well to set that up. We have several options on the table.
Okay, thank you.
But we just can't do it all by video conferencing. There does have to be meetings here.
I move the recommended action.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me.
Got one more comment. No, come on up.
Hi, my name is Barbara Rawlings. I may look like Barbara Rawlings, but I'm representing Mary Barrett tonight. I hope this is when I'm supposed to do this. It's a letter about the design.
Go ahead.
Okay. To all the City Council members, at this time when you are voting to approve the design for the new City Hall, I would appreciate your consideration of a viewpoint that I am presenting to you. I, along with others, have worked hard over the past 2 years to see that the right actions were taken by the City Council regarding a new home for our Newport Beach City Hall. I was able to get Tom Johnson to meet with Bill Ficker just days before the first design was to have been approved. You can remember the front page coverage the Daily Pilot gave to Bill's renderings and plan for building the City Hall and its location above the main library in Fashion Island. When the vote came the next day, we were saved from having this first plan, which up to that point had cost us almost $1 million. All of us know the great need for a new, larger, and state-of-the-art City Hall, much like we did when the current City Hall was built. I am fortunate to have known the wonderful men who, along with my father, Jim Barrett, made it possible to replace the old wooden City Hall by the pier with the present City Hall, just as Newport Beach was entering a great period of prosperity and growth, marking its progress from being a small beach town. The City Hall adjoining the Lido Isle stores of Richard's Market, the movie theater, and the premier shopping and dining spots of the town really put us on the map after World War II. Looking back, the dedication was a thrilling event. My father was able to get his close friend, Governor Earl Warren, to officiate at the impressive ceremony. Now we come to the present day. After much deliberation over many years, we have agreed on a new City Hall to be built on the beautiful site above the library. Each step of the way has been hard fought, but we have agreed it will become a reality now. This reminds me of the long-fought design over the Disney Concert Hall. Diane Disney, who was my freshman dorm roommate at USC, inherited the chairmanship of the Disney Concert Hall Committee after her mother's death. Mrs. Disney had funded the building as a gift to the city. If you remember, no one would agree, and the controversy over Frank Gehry's design had stopped all progress for several years. Each committee member had their own ideas for how they would change the design. Diane had just about given up when she remembered something her father had told her. It is my opinion that his advice applies to the beautiful design we have chosen for our City Hall. Walt Disney had always believed that when you have commissioned an artist to design a project, you do not interfere with the work that has been created. Fortunately, the committee members listened and agreed so that we now have the Disney Concert Center, which is recognized as one of the finest examples of architecture in the world. I believe we should likewise leave and approve the design of the Newport Beach City Hall just as it has been designed. Any change destroys the integrity of the building. The feature of the series of sails is so magnificent. It will be a landmark up and down the Pacific coast, being visible from boats and ships at sea, and those traveling up and down the highways. I can only imagine how beautiful it will be at night. In my opinion, the council members are only playing politics with this issue. Haven't we seen enough of that over the preceding years in regard to the design of the City Hall? The same few who object do not represent the majority of the residents of Harborview Hills. Please stand up for what is right to do, and do not alter the height of the largest sail so that everyone can enjoy the extraordinary building that has been designed for our new City Hall. I greatly appreciate you letting me voice my opinion. I am in great hopes that, like the Disney Music Center, you, the City Council members, will leave the design for the new City Hall intact. Most sincerely, Mary Barrett Blake. And she would like each of you to have a copy of the letter. And thank you. Just in passing, does anybody besides Don Webb remember when the 38th Street Park was a tadpole lagoon?
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back. Councilman Webb, you had a motion?
I move the recommended action.
Okay, please vote.
Now, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I do want to offer an amendment to the motion to include in the contract a model, and hopefully we can pay for part of that by being a little more sharp-eyed on the expenses, the reimbursable expenses. And so I would like to offer that amendment.
Okay,
I accept the amendment.
Okay. Any discussion? Please vote.
Excuse me, is there a cost limitation on that, though? I mean, you mentioned the term 45,000.
Well, that was what was mentioned in the staff report. I would hope that we would go back and try to negotiate the best cost for that we can.
And I guess the size of the model, too, would come into play. It's what we're talking about, because we want to make sure we give council what we want on.
Well, they're not competing this time, so.
I'd be glad to cede the final approval of the model to the building committee.
Okay.
I think the building committee can handle that. Okay, please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is supplemental item S34, the City Hall and Park Master Plan Project, approval of professional services master agreement with CW Driver for program management services.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is kind of the bookend. What we're asking you to approve tonight is a contract with CW Driver, who will be our program manager for the project. And this contract will cover the first phase in conjunction with the architectural contract. As you probably are aware, this program manager was selected amongst initial 24 firms that responded to our RFQ. Of those 24 firms, we narrowed down to 7 finalists who are very well qualified, and that final 7 finalists were interviewed by the City Building Committee and staff, and CW Driver was selected as the most responsible or most qualified firm to perform program management services for us. We're very excited to have them on board. They're essentially going to be working hand in hand with us, riding over the architect and attending to all the various issues such as costs. We're very pleased about their ability to bring that to the table, and constructability reviews and pre-reviews in the early processes of this design, so that we can get it on track to make the most efficient and most cost-effective building as possible. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. I'll just add, as one of the members of the committee that interviewed the potential program managers, that CW Driver was certainly most impressive, and I think they'll be a great addition to our team on this project. Any other comments, Council? Okay. Anybody from the public wish to comment? Okay. Seeing none, I'll bring it back for motion.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Motion for reconsideration. A motion to reconsider the vote on any action taken by the City Council at either this meeting or the previous meeting may be made only by one of the council members who voted with the prevailing side.
Okay. Any motions for reconsideration?
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a quick question? Forgive
Sure.
me. Really what I'd like to do is to reach a clarification to make sure that we can move forward to document what you've just done with respect to the design contract. And I think you want to move as quickly as possible. So to negotiate any kind of a change to this contract, I don't want to have to be stuck in a situation where we have to come back or slow anything down. So is it appropriate that we're interpreting the motion that you approve and authorize the mayor to sign the contract as written, and then instruct staff to negotiate an amendment to include a model? And because otherwise it's written without a model. And so I want you to be able to sign this contract tomorrow or tonight.
Well, I would, unless any of the rest of the council object, I would think would be to put an amendment to the contract to have the model at the maximum price indicated in the staff report.
Oh, okay, excellent. And then we'll make sure that we get that moving forward so it doesn't get slowed down in any way. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, seeing no motions for reconsideration, I will ask Councilman Webb, he has an adjournment he'd like to do.
Yes, I'd like to adjourn tonight's meeting in honor of Nick Scandone. He's a local Olympian and yachtsman. While he's a resident of Fountain Valley, he was a member and sailed under the Newport Beach's yacht club, the Balboa Yacht Club, and brought quite a number of recognitions to the city through some of the events. He succumbed to Lou Gehrig's disease, and his most recent victory was only a few months ago in the Olympics that were held in China. it was the Olympics, and he won a gold medal along with his crew in a Scud 18. He has, over the years, been quite successful in the yachting field. He was, in 1991, the 470 North American champion, 2004, the Independence Cup champion, and in 2005, he was recognized as the Rolex Yachtsman of the Year. He was a very dedicated person, and even though he had to overcome huge handicap to participate in the Paralympics, he did so always very positive about the outcome, and so that I would like to offer our sympathies to his wife, Mary Kate, and his friends. Close in his honor.
Thank you. With that, we're adjourned.